All right, let's get started. Hello and welcome to IT Security Labs. And tonight, I have a simple lab that we can set up in your own environment. So over the past few weeks, we've been setting up a network detection lab, and you saw me display on my channel how you can use it. This is the final part of the setup process where we are going to set up a final quick lab where you can detect the endpoints. I've been experimenting with Wazoo and other tools, and this time it looks like this lab is the best one I've seen so far. It's the easiest one. And let me just show you here very quickly. So the reason why I think this is the best and the easiest lab for learning is because it comes with all the good tools that we need. Right here, you're looking at my Splunk interface. If you look for any security analyst jobs out there, most likely, most of them require you to know Splunk or another SIEM solution. So we're going to have Splunk in this lab, which is awesome. Then this lab is also automated. So the setup process does not require you to really do much other than sit there for 2 hours and monitor it. Chris Long made this lab possible for us. And I commented on one of his videos and he highly suggested that I show you guys. And after setting it up, I truly believe that we do need to have this lab set up. In fact, I'm going to use this lab as our lab for testing different things. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope you will find value in this video and this live stream. As always, let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Let me know if you have any issues hearing me, since this is a live demonstration. But I'm very excited that you're all here on a Sunday, on a long weekend. So this is the lab that we're talking about. And the reason why I really like this lab is because most environments out there, most employers, they have Active Directory. Whether you're going to be a defender or a penetration tester, you're going to work with Active Directory. So this lab automates the whole process of setting up an Active Directory lab. When I was setting it up in my environment, which I'll tell you how and show you here in a little bit, it took me about 2 hours to set up. And all I needed to do was clone the repo, run the installation script, and wait. So I started the installation process, went and watched TV, came back, and I had a fully functional lab. I was able to sign in, and I'm going to sign in right here. I'll show you what I have. And then I started playing around. I was even throwing labs out here. Thanks, BT, for showing up, and thanks for the update. So that's the quick lab that I want to show you. And I'm also excited to hear what you guys have. So today's is just a quick discussion of what I have. I'll show you some demonstration. Then I would also want to interact with you guys and see what everybody has been setting up their labs to. All right. So the first thing that we need to understand is this is a detection lab by Chris Long. And this lab really is meant for people who are security researchers, people want to learn security. So even advanced people set up this lab. So before you do any engagement with a client, before you start doing pen testing on a client environment, you can spin up this lab, then hopefully add some things to it so you can sort of simulate attacking the client environment. You can even install additional software if you want. But the most important thing for us is we have Splunk, which is awesome for detection, and we can see the web interface. We're running Splunk Enterprise, so you get a trial version of that. You have Suricata IDS. We did set up Suricata in our lab. That was for network detection. This is for host-based detection. We have Zik, which is my favorite, and I intend to spend more time on Zik on this channel. Then we have Collid Fleet for monitoring the fleet. And then Apache Guacamole. Guacamole is for allowing you to sign in, but into all these machines from one interface. I won't be using it because I like to just switch and you see how I do it. Then Splunk is really awesome. If you search for any jobs out there, you'll see that employers really like people who know Splunk. Big companies who use Splunk. So us spending time in Splunk is going to be really great. So that's what we have. Then we have a domain controller, simple setup. It sets it up for you. We have a machine that is collecting Windows event logs. This one is running Powershell log collector and all these tools here. You'll see this data as I'm going to be showing you here. And also a Windows 10 machine that we're just going to be using for simulating an endpoint. My main interest is in attacking this domain controller. I want to pen test the domain controller, find out what happens if I run Empire on this. What do the logs look like in our logging system? That has always been my passion. Is I want to know if people are going to detect me on the network, how are they going to see me on the network? If I'm going to be detecting the bad guys, how do I detect them on the network? Those things really matter to me. So that's what the lab looks like. I highly encourage you to take a look at this project, detectionlab.network, or on github.com. Chris Long, Detection Lab. Super simple. So how do we set up this lab? Why do I think this is the easiest lab? First of all, you have all platforms covered here. You have Azure, ESXi, which is awesome. I highly suggest people to go for the ESXi. Hyper-V. My lab is running right now in VirtualBox because that's the easiest one for people. But you can set it up all the way here. He's using Vagrant, which automates the installation process. So the way I found it was I was going to create my own lab and show you guys the easiest one with Vagrant. Then I was like, wait a second. Chris has a lab that we can build on. So you run this one, we can add our tools on top of it and remove some of his. All right, so here's the build process that I followed. Windows on VirtualBox or VMware Workstation. That's the one that I went for. I have a Windows machine, an old gaming machine. I'll show you the requirements in a little bit. But all you need to do when you install it in Windows with VirtualBox is, of course, git clone. And then once you clone the repo, you run this command here and the lab starts. This is as easy as it can be, right? You clone a repo, you run a command, you point it to VirtualBox, and off you go. The only thing that you need to make sure is that you have the requirements met, and I will be showing you right now, actually. So here's my Windows machine. This is my old gaming computer. This machine here, let's go to my properties. Let me show you the system stuff that I have. So this used to be my gaming computer, Windows 10. I don't game on a Windows machine anymore, so I retired it just for labbing purposes. So I have 24 gigs of RAM. I think about 16 gigs will do for this lab. Then other than that, this is the processes that I'm running. Nothing really special on this machine, really. So 24 gigs, 64-bit Windows 10. It's not even the latest one that I'm running. So if you go back here and this PC, you'll notice that I do have an SSD drive. This is running my main operating system. Then I have another drive, an external drive with 1.8 terabytes. So this is where I'm putting all my machines. As you can see, this is not the most optimal way of setting up this lab because this is the bottleneck. You will notice that my lab is going to be a little slower because I'm running it on this external hard drive. So if you're going to be setting up a lab in VirtualBox on your computer, try to get an SSD if possible. That is my advice is find a cheap SSD for like $100 or $80. That is 500 gigs or more. Throw it in there and you get way better performance than what you see in my lab here. But my main operating system is running on an SSD, so that's good. So 24 gigs, that processor there, and also about a terabyte of hard drive. You don't need a terabyte for this lab. I think you'll be fine with less than that. In fact, it says you need about 60 gigs on your hard drive. So 60 gigs, you can get away with it. Mine, I wanted it to scale. So what are we doing with this lab here, right? We have a lab that we can set up using automated tools using Ansible. We don't need to know how the setup process goes. We can set it up in 2 hours or less by cloning this repo. For me, on my Windows machine, let me see if I can minimize things here. On my Windows machine, I have VirtualBox. So what you need is the latest version of VirtualBox. So if I go to help about VirtualBox, my version of VirtualBox is 6.1. So make sure that you are running the 6.1 or 6.0 or 6.1 going up. Otherwise, you have issues with scripts. I did run the script and I was running an older version and I had trouble. So my first tip for you, if you're going to be setting up this lab very quickly, is make sure that you're running the latest version of Virtualbox. Then after that, you need to install the lab. For me, I just used PowerShell to run this command here. Just PowerShell, normal PowerShell, and git clone. And then after I cloned the repo, I cd into the repo, and then I ran the setup command right here, the Vagrant app setup. So follow these. There's nothing complicated there. You should be able to get this up and running in no time. All right. So that's what I can say about the setup process. The instructions are very simple. They're on GitHub and also on the page that I showed you earlier. If you want, I can share with you a link here. The fun begins when you start signing into these machines, right? Because I want to be able to see this lab working. So for me, I signed in the DC, the domain controller, because I wanted to see what does the domain controller look like. You might notice that this lab might end up with a Kali Linux machine. This does not come with the lab that Chris Long set up. This is going to come with a Windows 10 client, Windows Event Log Forwarder, that's WEF, and a Logger machine running Ubuntu. This is where all our Splunk is running. So after that, let's just go and check out what we can see. So first off, let's look at the tools that are installed and how we can interact with them, because I think that is where the fun begins, right? So first of all, we have the Logger machine running Ubuntu with Splunk and Zik and all these tools. This is what is going to allow us to go to this location, 192.168.38.105 on port 8000 and see Splunk. And this is my Splunk interface that you can see here. So like I said, this is a little slow because this is on a hard drive. Put an SSD, you will not have this slowness. But when you first sign into the Splunk interface, this is what we're going to be seeing here. You see that we have Zik network traffic. Wow, here's my traffic coming in, which is awesome. So Zik network traffic, this is the classification of all the traffic that is coming from Zik based on, it's right behind me. Let me put myself up here. Or maybe round would do. So this is going to cover less space. So right above my head here, you see that we have Zik network traffic, that's right here by the category. And then we can see the events that were captured by Jake's cookbook beckoning. So these are tools that we will need to go in depth and really dig into what they do and why we have Sysmon events, which the lab installs Sysmon for us. Windows events by host. So we have some events here coming in, and these are coming from DC because I've been doing some work on DC. OS query here by host. My favorite place to go is the threat hunting tab, which you saw that I had open. This is good because when I start taking problems here and running my Empire and my Mimikatz on my domain controller, I like to be able to come and see, okay, which rules in Splunk were triggered? How did we trigger them? If it didn't fire, why didn't it fire? Because you need to be able to answer those questions as a defender at work as well. When I go to work and I'm trying to protect my employer's environment, I need to be able to answer the same questions. Why didn't these rules fire? What did I do wrong and what's missing? And when they stop firing, I also need to know. All right. So in this threat hunting tab here, you will also see that I had a bunch of events here, which is also awesome. So that's just the threat hunting event. You can also visit the other interfaces like the Fleet Collid, which you can just sign in using the admin 1234. Hello Tectonic, welcome to our live stream for the week. I'm just showing one of the easiest detection labs set up for learning anything really. You can learn to be a defender from this lab. You can also learn to be an attacker from this lab, because once you are doing a pen test, you want to know like how much noise to cause in your client's environment. This lab will really show you whether your tools are going to spook the defenders or not. And this lab will also show you as a defender where you might not have proper visibility. So that's the lab that I'm just showing you today. And I was showing the threat hunting interface here. And the good thing about this one is, let me refresh this. You can click on these interfaces and really pivot into events and drill down on them all the way until like you find out what command was executed, what command executed it, who was the logged in user when this happened. So let's look at this right here. Let me see if I can pick one. Most of these are just going to be normal Windows events. So let's look at this privilege. That's what they're categorizing this, and we have 18 of these. Why did this get fired? Why do we have this event here? So I think this is really relevant to our existence on really being able to answer these questions. Like, well, I have all these tools that are detecting why are they firing. So right here, let's try to see what's the story on this time here on 7:05. The technique that was thought was that the trigger is this one that says drivers from temp or unassigned. So this is what happened is if something fires on our Windows machine, like if we have any drivers from the temp directory or unassigned, let's click on that and see what really happens there. But we can tell that the process that was started was on AppData local Google Chrome user. So this was just a software called reporter-tool.exe in Google Chrome. As a security administrator, I'll be asking myself, okay, what does Tectonic have to do with running a tool called software reporter.exe as an end user? So you'll be looking at this and thinking, what is my end user doing? Is this malicious software right here? Is this something I need to go and find out what they're doing? You can quickly go and grab, like, okay, what's really happening here? Is this a plugin from Chrome? Maybe. Then driver downloaded. So we have a driver for this software reporter, and this is the DLL file that this driver probably is executed on our machine. So as you can see, this can really give us in-depth information about what is happening in an environment that we are protecting. So if someone had went to the internet and downloaded malware, by now we will have exactly what the name of whatever file they downloaded and when it ran on their machine. So this is one of those great things to be able to have. And this is what happens. Maybe you are a senior analyst and you get an escalated invite from the low-level analyst, and they're like, yeah, I found out that this person downloaded this, and you need to spend more time really digging down into it. So now I can click further into that one. Let's see what happens here. What can I see if I really click there? You might even end up seeing the raw log of the incident, of the event, exactly what, in fact, here's a related raw log that I'm talking about on this Windows machine here. So we know so far that this was triggered because there was an event in Google Chrome for a driver that is unsigned, and here are the raw logs for the same data. Really, that's going to be there, and we can tell the user that was signed is Vagrant, and this is the full path of where this executable resides on our machine. So if you wanted to clean up this machine, we can literally go on this hard drive and go to the full path. So there's more things that we can do. This is just one of the things that we can do this time in Splunk, and you can learn a ton from this lab. And that's why I think that you should spend some time setting this detection lab. It takes about 2 hours. All you need to do is have the required material, and you can do that. For me, to make it even more fun, because I'm not just satisfied by these tools, right? I introduced Kali, because that's where things get interesting. You can come in here and have Kali Linux. This is the latest version of Kali OVA. I just downloaded it. This whole lab does not have access to the internet, but what I want to do is I want to say, for example, this is what I was just doing before you join me. I was like, okay, let me run some remote PowerShell commands. I know the administrator's password. What if I run psexec? Psexec allows us to run commands remotely. I'm saying psexec, go to Windows Administrator, sign in as Vagrant on our domain controller and run ipconfig. This lab should be able to tell me, and I'm going to spoil it for you. I don't know where to find this, but I just ran a remote command from my Kali Linux machine using psexec. If this lab really is set up correctly and is tweaked correctly in any environment, we should be able to capture the fact that I ran psexec. The same as if I ran any Metasploit modules, it should be able to detect and let me know that someone is really messing around and running PowerShell commands. Because if you sign in here, on our main page in Splunk, there is a tab dedicated to remote PowerShell commands. In this case, let's see if it is set up for our liking. Here's a Powershell preview. That's what I'm talking about right here. All right. So we should be able to see PowerShell commands. Where is my PowerShell? Right here. We should be able to see what I just did there with psexec listed right here. And if we see it listed here, we should be able to tell what happened and really drill down which machine ran PowerShell command, what did they do. For me, maybe it's still indexing, but that event should be here as a PowerShell preview. So in the future, when I make smaller videos on my channel, I'll be referencing this lab setup. Say when... Oh, thanks, Tectonic. You're saying that's awesome. Yes, I really think this is awesome. So my goal here is, for example, if I'm making a video about learning PowerShell Empire, right? I want to tell you what PowerShell Empire is used. How do we really interact with Empire? What commands can we run? How do we dump, say, credentials from an Active Directory machine? We can have a video where I can make that video and show you how it's done. Then we can pivot to our lab and say, oh, by the way, if you do this, defenders will be able to see what you are doing. And here's how they see what you are doing. And then we can come in here and say, if you run PowerShell Empire, you are going to show up on the threat detection event here. You're going to trigger these different categories in the threat hunting tab here. And if your company that you're running PowerShell Empire is logging and they're alerting, they're going to find you. And your engagement is going to end very quickly. Because what happens when you're doing a pen test or you're working with a client, you want to make sure that they don't detect you and block you. You want to really be as stealth as possible, because attackers, bad guys out there, they have the ability to remain stealth. So you're going to try and really do that. So you're going to show up here on the threat hunting tab overview here, and they're going to find out what you're all about. Say you're not interested in learning about the threat hunting overview. You're really interested in working with Splunk, understanding the baseline Splunk. Let's look at the Splunk interface. This is going to require you to learn this Splunk querying language, which is like which really is like Kibana querying language, or it's like SQL querying language. You just need to know what to search for here. In this case, I have a search history which can show you what you can search for. Say you wanted to search for events that were triggered on Zeek, which is an intrusion detection system, but source IP was 192.168.10. So let's load this one, because I was actually just searching about an hour ago. So I need to be able to click here. All right, so this is freezing. I don't know why, but there we go. So now I'm searching for a specific IP address. This is the IP address of my Kali Linux. What events were triggered by Kali Linux that Zeek picked up? And this is just going to show me all those events listed here. Really, one by one at a time. And what was the problem? And I mean, this is a lot of information that you need to be able to look for. So let's look at what was happening here. The destination was 192.168.38.1. So this is just a connection from my Kali Linux to my firewall. So this is really nothing. This is a Brocon, meaning just a normal connection. So ZIC connection. So this is not an exciting event for me because it's just a Brocon or ZIC-con nowadays. So, but we can see the patterns of the traffic between my Kali Linux and anything in this network. What does ZIC intrusion detection think about the traffic that is coming from Kali Linux to my network? So the use case for this one will be, you found out that there's an IP address that is just doing ridiculous things or things that you are not fully understanding. This is a place where you say, okay, tell me, according to my intrusion detection system, what is the classification, what are the patterns for traffic from this? So we can tell 53% of this traffic from my Kali Linux was going to 192.168.38.102. The reason why this is the case is because not only is this machine my domain controller, but I was also running some scripts against my domain controller. So 52% of that traffic was going there. And then we can also see that, yeah, we have a lot of behaviors here. And as you can see, we have 192.168.38.10, which is Kali, going to this IP address using the username administrator. So what were we doing here? We were signing in as an administrator. Let's see if I can pivot to that. 68 events. Let's open those. So if you were trying to answer questions like, okay, what is the behavior of this IP address that's showing up on my network, you'll be able to tell. So right now, you'll be wondering, okay, who is this client and why are they signing into my domain controller as administrator? And what did they do? Then you can use this information to maybe go and look at other logs, look at other aspects of this particular log here to really understand what do they do. But we have connection IDs here. We can tell what. Yes, BT says you can also filter using time. Yes, which is also awesome. You can tell by events by a specific time. So what I just showed you here is just a simple filter here that is just looking at ZIC events. So there are long classes that are 20 hours long or more where you can just learn how to use this Splunk querying language. And I was speaking to other people who subscribed to my channel. They thought it's a good idea for me to spend some time in Splunk, since most employers use Splunk. And in fact, if you know how to use Splunk, you might also pivot these to other tools. So my favorite SIEM solution right now is the Elastic SIEM, but I also understand that Splunk Enterprise is one of, if not the best SIEM solutions out there that companies spend millions of dollars on. And knowing this for most people is going to be the best solution, probably more than knowing Elastic SIEM. So this is the Splunk querying language. I'm actually interested in creating a course on just really digging into Splunk so that we can create reports, we can create alerts when things happen here. So this is going to be super fun for us as this channel grows, and also as I make more videos, for me to really make this content that is relevant to you. So this is our Splunk interface, and I think it's the best. I'm not going to spend some time today showing you the other ones. Let's see. I think this is the setup page. So this is just the Splunk interface. You have other interfaces here. And if you're still curious what we are doing, we have this lab, and the whole goal of this lab is awesome. Yes, BT says the Splunk fundamental course is free on the Splunk website. I highly suggest that you spend some time on this class. Yes, thank you for that. I actually took this Splunk fundamentals course on the Splunk website. What you can do is you can go on the Splunk website, really spend some time it is worth your time, especially if your goal is to end up applying for security or entry-level security jobs. Complete that Splunk fundamentals course, get the certificate that they issue you. Have this lab here. You will gain a lot of skills. Another great thing that you can do that I was thinking is you can even just replay pickups of known attacks on the internet. There are websites out there that will show you, that will give you pickups of known malware or known vulnerabilities. Replay the pickup, view it in Splunk. It's the best way to really spend some time on this stuff. So we're auditing. You see that this is going to be mainly host-based data, which I think is really great. A lot of administrators out there, including myself, are not too interested, or too excited to manage endpoint detection tools. It's not the most elegant. It's not the most fun to manage, because what happens is, right here I'm running all these tools. What happens when one of these tools doesn't work or stops running? As an administrator, it's my job to really monitor these little tools, especially if they're running on my domain controllers. So this is going to force me as a security administrator to have an additional monitoring tool like, say, Zabbix or Nagios, that is actually going to alert me when one of my monitoring tools is not running. So this is not too fun for people, but you have to run it to be able to work. So because of that, you are going to run this lab, and in addition to that, you also need network-based intrusion detection. So that's why my lab for this setup that I'm showing you, in addition to this lab logging itself, the default gateway for all these machines is going to be my pfSense. So as a failsafe, at a network level, I'm going to be running Snort and Suricata. And if I start running Suricata on these interfaces here, I'm also going to get the same visibility that Snort is having from an endpoint point of view. This is going to detect the same incidents. So technically, this is supposed to catch the same attacks as the host-based that were happening. If this works properly, I can validate for sure and say, yes, I saw the same attack at my network level in my pfSense logging in Suricata events. And I also saw the same data from my host-based intrusion. So this complements each other. And depending on which one you want to spend more time on learning the best, this lab will still be able to incorporate in our labs that we've set up on our channel. So that's what I had to show you guys. If you're interested, please consider setting this lab up. About 2 hours is not that bad. And once you set it up, you'll actually be having a lot of fun as me. So right now, I'm just going to take any questions, if you have any, about the setup process, anything that you want to see right now, any questions that you might have, I'll be happy to answer them right now. Ed, thank you, Tectonic, for the feedback. Said that this is extremely awesome. I think so too. I think this is the best lab. I've spent so much time setting up an Active Directory environment. This sets it up for you, and all you need to do is understand what is going on. There is a catch, though, to setting up this lab that I think I've always been conflicted about setting up labs from automated tools, and I'll tell you why. When you set up a lab from automated tools, you have no idea how they set up the domain. You have no idea how to set up a domain. And to me, that is sort of like stealing that experience from you. So as a first timer, someone who is new to security or to IT, I suggest that you go out there, you download the Windows ISO, you install Windows from scratch, you apply the updates, you harden the Windows operating system, you install Active Directory by yourself. That way you know exactly which components pack into Active Directory, where to go in Active Directory to add the users. That way you know how Active Directory works from the bottom up. So this lab here is really helpful for setting it up very quickly so you can focus on the security tools. But if you're just starting out in IT, maybe don't run this automated lab. You need to know how everything is set up. You need to know how to install the software. So spend some time doing that. Let me look at this one first. All right, thank you, Niraj. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. What? I've heard of Splunk, never looked at it. Oh, yeah. In fact, most employers out there use Splunk for their security analysis. There's like the top 5 SIEM solutions. Splunk is up there. If people are looking to buy a SIEM solution in-house, they look at Splunk and others. So it's definitely one of those. There's a question here. How can you get threat hunting app already pre-deployed link in a production network because it's not on Splunk website? That is interesting, right? I think the threat, you need to have an account. The last time I did something like this, that was a month ago when I was setting up a Splunk. I think if you go to, you need to be on the signed into an account and have a trial version of Splunk Enterprise. Then you can add these applications here. So I would like to know how to set up the CLAC linked to SIEM. Okay, so if you're going to set up your own domain controller and really monitor it, this lab that I showed you here is a good start. We now know what we need to be able to do, right? We know that if you ever wanted to monitor your domain controller, you can have an ATA, lightweight gateway, sysmon, OS query, and the receptor. You can spend some time really looking at, okay, how do I set up this little tool here to ship the logs to my Splunk? This is what security administrators end up doing. This is what you as a security engineer or administrator who end up spending most of your time doing is, okay, how do I deploy this? How do I design it so that I can monitor my infrastructure? What should I monitor? So yeah, spending some time on that. And the how part is literally setting it up, be able to configure the agents. This is going to be the same setup as any agent. The agent is going to have a configuration file. In the configuration file, you're going to tell it where to ship the logs. Then you're going to go to the Splunk interface and figure out if the logs are there or not. Can we get the threat hunting up? Okay, I think I already answered that one. Someone says, "Come live." Yes. So this lab is for people who it's for both people. It's for pen testers and defenders, and I'll tell you why. You can use it for evading detection. So if you want to go to a client and do a pen test, you can set up this lab and try to mimic your client in environment. Test your tools. So if you're going to be running any tools, you need to be able to test them. So for example, you want to see if your client is going to be able to detect you when they have Zik installed, then you just fire up this lab and run your Zik, or if they have Suricata installed, you want to find out if they do. So yes, that's what it is for. It's for detection, evasion, and also learning how to detect. BT says Splunk is really good because it's very flexible, however very expensive due to the license restrictions on logs. Yes. So you see that Splunk is very expensive, but companies pay for it because it's super easy to learn, it's super easy to install, and their support actually is really good. Because you pay a lot of money for Splunk, you're also going to get a super easy interface. So you either have someone like myself who is willing to baby these tools in production and really develop them and actually deploy them, or if you have limited capacity, say you don't have a well-trained or engineers in your environment, you buy Splunk, you literally just buy it, it's plug and play in your environment, and you'll be good. So yeah, because of that, you end up paying a lot of money. And you have to be aware of where to deploy it because it's obviously it's going to limit you. You pay per tier on number of logs you can ingest. And with the cloud, you'll be ingesting a lot of logs and you'll be paying a lot of money. That's why I'm a big fan of Elasticsearch. I mean, if you can have your own Elastic engine and keep your own logs, you can keep however many logs you want and nobody is going to bother you. You're working on a honeypot for your final project. Yes, a honeypot is really going to be really great. If I were in college for my master's degree or something like that, I'll look at a project like this where I'll pick a malware that was common. I'll replay it in a lab like this and try to see how it could have been detected. That's what I will probably end up doing, something similar to that. What do you think of security onion? Yes. In fact, I would say the reason why you would want to set up this lab is mostly if your client has these tools in place, and this is also super easy to set up. Splunk, there's a free version. You're going to have limitations. You'll probably not have some of these apps. So the use case for this lab is for someone who is learning a specific skill. You want to learn something. For example, if you have done an interview with an employer and they have listed Splunk as one of the tools that they use on their website, this will be a great place to get started. Just jump in here. Security Onion, on the other hand, is going to be your best bet if you want to set up a long-term lab for detection at home. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Security Onion. Go with Security Onion if you want to monitor your home network. Because Security Onion also comes preloaded with these tools. The only reason you would want to have something like this is if you really want to imitate an enterprise environment. Because if you go to some employer somewhere tomorrow, you are most likely going to see a Splunk environment that looks exactly like what I have here or close to this. And you're going to be looking at logs the same way that I'm doing here. So this is for if you want to really learn the closest things to the enterprise, and also if your client is using something like this or not. And I think one way or the other, I'm not all about the tools that you use really, because the concept is still the same. You can come from Security Onion to here and pick up on this very quickly. If you pick one, SIM 2, this is just like programming languages really. Once you know one, you know all of them. It's just a bit of figuring out. All right, so that was our live stream, guys, and thank you all for joining. I appreciate the engagement. This is awesome. This is really awesome. So now that we have this lab, if you see me in my next videos posting about, say, when you're working with Mimikatz and I'm attacking another machine, then I'm looking at logs. This is what the lab setup is, and this is sort of the back end stuff of what we have. So I hope someone took something from this, or someone tonight is getting started with this detection lab. If you have any issues setting it up, let me know in the comments. Chris Long is a really great guy. He's very responsive. If you create an issue on his GitHub page, he will respond to you. If you also ping him on Twitter, he will definitely respond. He's very responsive. I reached out to him and he responded to me, and he was like very excited, and he suggested that I show you guys this project. As you can see, this is a really nice project that he has, and I hope you can give it a try. 2 hours and about 16 gigs and 60 gigs on your hard drive. You should be able to get this up and running. Then from there we can start having more fun. Yeah. And that's why I have this channel, IT Security Labs, right? So we can at least have a platform to really sharpen these skills. Because at the end of the day, you are not going to get the same chance, even at work, to poke around with specific things. You are not going to have the chance to just monkey around at work. At work, they want you to really respond to things. You don't have time to create environments and poke around and discover yourself. This is where you learn your skills and you apply them at work. Or if your employer allows, you can set this up at work somewhere using their hardware. So next time maybe we can look at the alerts and how the alerting works, and we can maybe hack a machine that is reporting in here, like what we did last week. And hopefully I can configure a machine to report in here properly. Then we can attack it, and then we can talk about what it could have detected. But that's it from me, guys. I hope you found some value in our today's live stream. My goal is to keep it like this every Sunday, mostly attack a machine and detect it. And this is one of those detection labs. Before you go, I will share the link with everybody. Right here, it's detection lab.network, and this is the GitHub page. I'll let you know it's a simple lab to set up. If you follow what I did, I set mine up in Windows VirtualBox, so everything was 100% free. There's a trial version of everything, so in 14 days or so, this is going to be going away anyway. The best is if the employer lets you. No power bills for us. Yes. Well, this lab is running on a gaming computer. The power bill is really minimal here. Really, this is a very, very minimal power bill that I'll be paying for this computer. And at most, you pay $20 a month for power. That's way better, and the skills that you learn here are going to be for life. All right. Thank you all for joining me, and I appreciate you being part of IT Security Labs. Let me know feedback of what you'd like to see every Sunday. On Hack the Box, we have been attacking machines, and this week I finally got a chance to get back into attacking, and I see that the team is making progress. So if you're interested mostly in the hacking part, we have a team on Hack the Box where we are just attacking machines and we are learning in no time. If you're interested in learning the defense part of it, this lab here is going to give you those skills. If you follow my channel, we do a little bit of both, and it helps to know both in my own opinion. So this is also awesome. I think someone joined later. Can I have this lab set up in VirtualBox? Yes, you can. This is in VirtualBox right now. This is what it looks like. Here are the machines. So you can set this up in VirtualBox in no time. Okay, for those who just joined, we are at the end of our today's live stream, and we just set up I just showed you how to set up a detection lab, which is a lab for learning defense skills and also evading detection. It's a wonderful lab, and it reports in Splunk. What you can do if you're a security onion believer is, instead of having Splunk, replace the whole Splunk interface with security onion, and you'll be able to get it working. The good thing about this is it's a Windows Active Directory machine, and Active Directory lab. Every employer out there, except for a few, run Active Directory. So being able to know how to work around in Active Directory is going to be interesting. And in the future, when we are learning about cable roasting, which is just really attacking Active Directory, it would be nice to have a lab like this to use for that. The name of the team on Hack the Box is IT Security Labs. So if you're interested in joining our team, it's IT Security Labs. And if you add your name here, I'll add you to the team. You'll get an invite from me. All right. So I think if no one has any questions, we can end it here. Otherwise, I'll wait for 2 more minutes and see if people have any questions for me so we can hang out. How do people learn their skills? For me, the way I learn my skills is I normally find a skill that I need to learn for a reason. Is it because of a company? So I would pick an employer. If I wanted to get hired at a company, I'll go and look at what they're looking for in their job descriptions on Indeed. What software are they listing? If they're listing Splunk, I'm coming home, I'm putting it in my lab. Then I start using Splunk. If they are listing Elasticsearch, I'm coming home and deploying Elasticsearch in my lab. So I'm reverse engineering the job search. Okay. what is your Hack the Box profile name, BT? Did I miss it? Or if you are a hiring manager and you're watching this, what do you suggest people to do? In most cases, if someone showed up to you in an interview and say, I haven't worked with Splunk, but I have this detection lab at home that is awesome. Last time I was learning Mimikatz, and I sent the logs in Splunk, and I was able to identify the hashes of my attack. I was able to identify the attack in Splunk, so I think it's great. As an employer, I'll be super impressed. I would definitely hire that person than somebody who shows up winging their degree or their certification. If you tell me these things and I'm hiring a security analyst and you tell me that you're working with Kali and Splunk and you had a lab that looks like mine here and you're poking around, I will have more respect than when you show up with your security plus, to be honest. I'm not saying the certificates are not good. I'm saying this is more important. Hands-on experience is more important than some certification in some way. Awesome. I will be adding you to our Hack the Box team. Let me take a screenshot of this so I don't forget. All right. Does anyone have any questions? Anything to add before we end our stream? Tectonic is on fire. You know, there are people who have been here from the beginning, who have attended every live stream, and it's good to see all your names popping up here. We started these live streams a few weeks ago, and they are probably my favorite things, and I look forward to them every week. I look forward to showing you guys what I learned and something really interesting. Let's see, what did you say? If the company uses Splunk, Free Fundamental explains all the basics for Splunk, and it was helpful. That's good to know. Thank you. Thank you, BT. And if you spend the time learning Splunk on your own, when you don't even use it, because you want to learn it, I think people respect that. You are somebody who takes initiative. You know you need to learn Splunk. You go and you find the course. You deploy Splunk here. You play around in Splunk. You send some logs. That to me shows initiative. That shows someone who is serious about their career in cybersecurity. You're not someone who just shows up to work and does the bare minimum. You care about your career. You care about where you want to be and what you want to learn, and you do it. And that to me is really important. And that's why I do these things, is because if someone takes the time out of their busy schedule to learn a tool and then show up to an interview and show up to an employer and makes things better, that person is worth having on your team than someone who comes to work and say, teach me how do I use this tool? Then they just go with what you taught me. You want someone who takes initiative, someone who take it further, someone who can come to work and say, oh, I see we're using Splunk, but if you guys looked at the threat hunting app, then you are someone who's going to help them make changes, the needed changes that they need. And that's why you probably want to be the one that learns these things. You can ask them, and demo it to your employer and say, hey, I found out that the threat hunting app finds all these threats and displays them in real time. It shows whether the numbers are going up or down. You can drill down on them. That is going to be really helpful. Thank you, Tectonic. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you all for stopping by this week. I'm very excited to spend more time on Hack the Box. Last week I did some hacking, and this week I'm interested in hacking. I'm targeting machines with Active Directory. Active Directory has been my thing now, so that's what led me to this lab. So I'm going to learn a lot. If you know any machines on Hack the Box that have really good Active Directory attacks, like keybrosting, stealing some credentials there, misconfiguration in Active Directory, let me know. That's the skill that I'm learning here. And also, I'll work on some really good content for you guys. A video coming on Wednesday and another one on Saturday. super nice, interesting stuff, and I hope some people will find value in it. If no one has any questions, I think we can call it a night. Thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate each and every one of you. I will see you next Sunday live here as well. So thanks for joining me.